Hello there, I'm Nadia Azmi, and Nightline begins now. News making the headlines. Putrajaya to review all monopolies. And Ideal Fitri aid for civil servants, pensioners to be paid on April 17th. Good morning. The government will be reviewing companies that had been enjoying monopolies in the past in an effort to provide a more competitive and equitable playing field for everyone involved. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said all ministries had been asked to study existing monopolies under their purview in the spirit of promoting transparent economic development and fair competition.
What is the rationale behind a decision to provide a monopoly in some of our initiatives? So we'll have to study, all ministries have been asked to study so that there would be a fair assessment and giving better service. The one point is better service to the public at a more reasonable cost.
He told this to the Malaysian media at the end of his three-day official visit to Saudi Arabia on Friday. Datuk Seri Anwar also said this move will require the government to make some adjustments and shift from a system that he considered to be chaotic, obsolete and serves only vested interests. Despite this, he assured that the government was not reneging on its commitment to assist Bumiputra companies. However, he said such initiatives must not only be transparent and fair, but also allow for fair competition among Bumiputra businesses. Last week, Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, said the government would be reviewing the monopoly held by Touch and Go since 1997, as the company has not shown any significant improvements in terms of its services.
Dua perkara yang menimbulkan sedikit keresahan.
Earlier, Datuk Seri Anwar invited the business community in Saudi Arabia to invest more in Malaysia now that the country is under a stable government with clear policies. He said the new government under his leadership was committed to making it easier to do business in the country with reforms that support business and the Madani agenda.
I would appeal, therefore, to Saudi business community soon after Ramadan to send delegations and meet your counterpart, and we will, of course, encourage you to invest in various fields. As I mentioned, one of our priorities of digital technology, food security, and of course, the infrastructure in the country. And we look forward to your active participation in Malaysia.
He said this in his keynote address at a gathering with the Saudi and Malaysian business communities at the Islamic Development Bank ISDB headquarters in Jeddah. Datuk Seri Anwar added there was a good reciprocal relationship between both countries in terms of investment. He also shared with the audience Malaysia's potential and its attractiveness as an investment destination, which recently drew Amazon Web Services AWS to decide to invest 25.5 billion ringgit in the country. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Anwar also witnessed the signing of 3 Memoranda of Understanding MOUs between Malaysia and Saudi Arabia private companies. The MOUs were inked between Dagang Exchange Berhad and Ajlan and Bros Holding Group Company, the Kuala Lumpur International Chamber of Commerce and Wadi Makkah Knowledge Company, and Cube International Sdn Berhad and Aeroman Technologies Sdn Berhad. This ceremony was also witnessed by the Jeddah Chamber of Commerce and Industry Chairman Sheikh Muhammad Yusuf Nagi on Thursday night. Earlier, the Prime Minister and his delegation were on a 3-day official visit to Saudi Arabia, had engaged with some 20 heads of companies from the kingdom in a roundtable meeting to discuss areas of cooperation and new sectors to be jointly explored. Datuk Seri Anwar also assured Saudi Arabia's captains of industry that they can now expect political stability in Malaysia and a more dynamic approach to business from the current government. He also promised that his administration would commit to ensuring good governance. The Special ID Filtering Aid for Year 2023 or BKKA 2023 for eligible civil servants and pensioners will be dispersed on April 17th. Public Service Department Director General Datuk Zulkifli Muhammad said a sum of RM700 will be paid out to all civil servants of grade 56 and below who are still in service, as well as those on contract basis, while pensioners will receive RM350. In a circular dated March 23rd, he said that the special aid was also extended to other groups of pensioners, including EPF retirees who retire from public service when they reach the mandatory retirement age option or retire for health reasons on or before April 17th, as well as veterans with pension and non-pensioned veterans. Government retirees and veterans that have been reappointed on a permanent, temporary and contract of service appointments and are still serving on April 17th are also eligible to be paid RM700. During the tabling of the 2023 budget last month, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said that the special cash aid is a measure of concern taken by the government to help civil servants make preparations to celebrate Hari Raya Aidilfitri. Pusat Pemeriksaan Kenderaan Berkomputer Puspakom will no longer be the sole provider of periodic motor vehicle inspection service beginning September 1st, 2024. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said the Cabinet in its meeting on March 17th decided that other qualified companies would also be allowed to provide the service on behalf of the Road Transport Department.
Keputusan tersebut adalah selaras dengan hasrat kerajaan untuk mewujudkan persekitaran perkhidmatan yang berdaya saing serta memudahkan seluruh rakyat Malaysia.
Speaking at a media conference in Putrajaya on Friday, Loke said the process of inviting private companies to offer this service is expected to begin in the first quarter of 2024. He added that interested parties must fulfill the same conditions imposed on Puspakom under the concession agreement, such as hiring only qualified workers, provide and use computerized inspection equipment regulated and approved by RTD, as well as charge inspection fees according to the specified rates. Those found to be in violation of the rules will face penalties or have their authorization to conduct inspections revoked. Loke also noted that the government has agreed to extend the current concession agreement with Puspakom for 15 years with improved terms to improve its service standards when it expires on August 31st, 2024. The government decided to kick off the open toll payment system at only 5 highways to ensure that the system can function properly before expanding it to other highways. Works Minister Datuk Seri Alexander Nantalinggi said the proposed system must be tested first before it is fully implemented to avoid any problems in the future that will inconvenience users. In a post on his Facebook account on Friday, Datuk Seri Nanta said although several more concession companies had shown interest to participate in the open payment system, the government did not want to be too ambitious and hasty in implementing it. He also said that this project took time to be implemented as it had to go through many processes, including refining and clarifying various technical, legal and financial aspects with the relevant parties. The minister also urged all parties to wait for announcements from the ministry regarding the list of alignments and highways that are ready to implement this open payment system to avoid confusion, misunderstanding and problems among users in the future. Previously, Datuk Seri Nanta announced that the open payment system, which allows users to pay tolls using debit and credit cards, would be implemented by September at 5 highways, namely Sungai Besi Highway, New Pantai Expressway NPE, Ampang Kuala Lumpur Elevated Highway Akleh, Guthrie Corridor Expressway GCE and Pulau Pinang Bridge. Home Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail has been asked to consider extending the existing Temporary Employment Visit Pass PLKS for the textile, barber and goldsmith subsector, which will expire in March for a suitable period. Human Resources Minister V. Sivakumar said he had discussed with Saifuddin Nasution to consider the matter. In a statement on Friday, he said the unity government is concerned with the request of local employers for the reopening of the textile, barber and goldsmith subsector for the employment of foreign workers. This as the 3 subsectors have been frozen since 2009 and completely closed for the employment of foreign workers since 2019. Sivakumar also said there is a process that needs to be followed concerning any government policy regarding the employment of foreign workers, where it needs to be brought up at the meeting level of the Joint Committee of the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Human Resources related to the management of foreign workers first. Any recommendations from this Joint Committee meeting will then be presented for the consideration and approval of the Cabinet Ministers before any announcement regarding the reopening of these three sectors can be implemented. A total of 2,572 deaths due to tuberculosis (TB) were recorded last year, an increase of 12% or 284 cases compared to 2021. Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa said a total of 25,391 cases of the disease were also reported in 2022, with an increase of 3,664 or 17% compared to 21,727 cases during the same period in the previous year. In a statement in conjunction with World Tuberculosis Day on Friday, Dr. Zaliha said the World Health Organization (WHO) estimated the TB incidence rate for Malaysia to be at 97 per 100,000 population. However, she pointed out that the rate of incidence reported in this country was lower than the WHO estimate. WHO also estimated there were 10.6 million cases of tuberculosis globally last year. She added efforts to increase the rate of detection through early screening needed to be increased. Therefore, individuals who have a high risk of being infected, such as contacts with TB cases, patients with HIV, chronic kidney disease, chronic pulmonary disease, and active smokers, were advised to do the screening. Dr. Zaliha also noted that treatment for pulmonary tuberculosis is important for recovery and avoiding complications that can cause morbidity and mortality. Patients who stop taking treatment and refuse to continue treatment can be subject to legal action under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act. Now, every time during Ramadan, Raja Permaisuri Agung Tunku Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria, who is famed for her culinary prowess, will roll up her royal sleeves to prepare bubur Lambo, or savoury rice porridge, to be distributed to the people. This year, the Queen continued the tradition by preparing the dish at the Istana Negara main surau compound using a Pahang recipe.
Tapi kalau bubur lambuk Pahang ni dia lebih menggunakan pucuk paku merah kan. Tapi susahnya cari kat KL dapat sikit aja tadi. So tapi tak apalah, kita tahu dan sayur-sayur lain lagi. Jadi ini kalau orang Pahang dia kata inilah bubur lambuk. Kalau yang lain tu dipanggil bubur daging ke, bubur cair ke, bubur apa. Tapi ini bubur lambuk dia pakai santan, udang kering tu semua. Resipi daripada saya pun belajar daripada orang Pahang. Kalau bubur lambuk Johor lain.
The porridge also had an extra royal touch, as Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah was also on hand to assist the Queen prepare the dish. Their Majesties were also aided by about 200 members of the Istana Negara Welfare and Sports Club, Keksin, and Istana Negara staff who started cooking the dish as early as 10 a.m. A total of 1,500 packets of bubur lambuk were distributed to the Kuala Lumpur Police Contingent Headquarters, Brickfields Police Headquarters, National Heart Institute, Kajang Prison and Transit Centres for the Homeless. Still to come, dozens hurt in Hong Kong bus pile-up. Among 87 people, including students, were injured on Friday after 4 large buses collided with a truck in a district in the northeast of the financial hub. Among the injured victims was a tour bus driver who was in critical condition. It was reported that the coaches were carrying about 200 passengers, most of them were school children. Officials said the accident occurred after a minibus slowed down to allow a taxi to switch lanes, but the coach behind the minibus did not slow down in time and crashed into the back of the minibus, causing the pile-up. The cause of the incident is still under investigation. North Korea on Friday claimed it has tested a new nuclear-capable underwater attack drone, as leader Kim Jong-un warned joint military drills by South Korea and the US should stop. The country's state news agency, KCNA, reported that the new North Korean drone cruised underwater at a depth of 80 to 150 meters for over 59 hours and detonated a non-nuclear payload in waters off its east coast on Thursday. It added that the weapon, which can be deployed from the coast or towed by service ships, is built to stealthily infiltrate into operational waters and make a super-scale radioactive tsunami through an underwater explosion to destroy enemy naval strike groups and ports. A South Korean military official said they were analyzing North Korea's claims, while a US official said there was no indication of a nuclear test. The latest test came as South Korean and US troops launched their largest amphibious landing drills in years on Monday. Elon Musk, the billionaire founder of SpaceX, on Friday denied a media report from earlier this week that said investors from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates were planning to invest in a multi-billion-dollar funding round in the company. The information reported on Wednesday that a unit of Saudi Arabia's investment fund and an Abu Dhabi-based company are planning to invest in a multi-billion-dollar funding round for SpaceX, citing people familiar with the discussions. Musk denied the news through his Twitter account. The funding round is expected to value the rocket maker at about $140 billion. In the U.S., Utah Governor Spencer Cox on Thursday signed 2 laws intended to restrict social media use by minors, becoming the first state to require parental permission for anyone under 18 to use platforms such as Instagram, TikTok and Facebook. The 2 bills passed earlier this month by Utah's Republican-controlled legislature are also meant to make it easier to sue social media companies for damages. Children and teens in Utah would lose access to social media apps if they do not have parental consent and face other restrictions. The bills, which the tech industry opposes, requires all users to submit age verification before opening a social media account. Outside of Utah, lawmakers in red states including Arkansas, Texas, Ohio and Louisiana, and blue states including New Jersey are advancing similar proposals.
Sure?
to sports badminton, the 2023 Swiss Open. Li Zijie booked his berth in the semi-finals after claiming a straight-set victory over Taiwan's Li Chihao in their quarter-final clash on Friday night. The second seed needed only 37 minutes to claim a 21-12, 21-17 win. Zijie is expected to face Koki Watanabe in Saturday's semi-final. Moving on to football now. Julian Nagelsmann has emerged as the favourite to replace Antonio Conte as Tottenham manager after being sacked by Bayern Munich. The 35-year-old was reportedly informed of his stunning departure on Thursday while on a skiing holiday in Austria, with Bayern sat 1 point behind Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga title race. Bayern are set to appoint Thomas Tuchel as their new manager, with the former Chelsea boss ready to get to work on Monday. Nagelsmann is linked with a new job, overtaking both Ryan Mason and Mauricio Pochettino as the favourite to become the next Spurs boss. The 53-year-old has flown back to his family home in Turin during the international break, with Mason taking charge of training following Conte's extraordinary rant at his players after their draw against Southampton.
And second set, Collins got 6 games to 4, 1 set.
Five immigration officers remanded over smuggling of illegal immigrants. This and more after the short break. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has confirmed that former Astro Chief Executive Officer Datuk Rohana Roshan has returned $10 million in assets linked to One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB to the authorities. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki confirmed the matter when contacted on Friday. Tan Sri Azam also confirmed that all the assets were voluntarily returned to the government last year after the anti-graft agency concluded its investigations. It was previously reported that Datuk Rohana was allegedly in a 10-year relationship with former Goldman Sachs banker Tim Leisner. Leisner had testified in the US trial of another former Goldman Sachs banker, Roger Ng, that he bought Datuk Rohana a house in London worth $10 million, which was allegedly purchased using 1MDB money in 2013. His testimony prompted the MACC to take statements from Datuk Rohana in February 2022 after she expressed her readiness to assist authorities in their probe. The MACC also reportedly froze Datuk Rohana's assets and bank accounts following its investigation into the ownership of the house. According to sources, the MACC considered the case as settled following the return of the assets, and no legal action would be taken against Datuk Rohana. To date, the total amount of assets linked to 1MDB that have been successfully returned is 28.93 billion ringgit. The Petaling Jaya City Council, MBPJ, has set up an internal investigating committee to probe several of its enforcement officers following the circulation of several videos in which they can be seen roughing up an elderly man during an operation to capture stray dogs on Thursday night. It said that the probe on the alleged assault was initiated immediately after the council was alerted to the videos of the incident. In a statement posted on its Facebook account on Friday, the MBPJ stressed that there will be no compromise in the case or attempts to protect any council officers if it was proven that they have committed the offence. Meanwhile, the 69-year-old man who was allegedly assaulted by the officers while trying to protect his dogs has lodged a police report at the Petaling Jaya Police Headquarters. The victim, Patrick Koo, said he decided to lodge the police report because he was afraid of the welfare of his dogs that were caught by the council officers. Earlier, several videos and pictures of an old man being roughed up by the MBPJ enforcement officers in Taman Kanagapuram went viral on social media, which sparked public outrage over the rough hand tactics used by the council officers during the incident. Facebook user Reka Morgan, who shared her account of the alleged assault along with videos and pictures, said the elderly man was left with injuries to his jaw, cheek and a cut on his wrist following the incident. Kuala Lumpur City Hall GBKL has ordered 16 eateries to shut down due to poor levels of hygiene. GBKL said during the inspections that were conducted on Wednesday, 60 compound notices were also issued concerning the licensing of the premises, 4 for violating food hawker and stall regulations, and 1 each under the Street Drainage and Building Act and Local Government Act. In a Facebook post on Friday, GBKL said the offences included placing tables and chairs on pedestrian footpaths, as well as dirty kitchen walls, rat and cockroach feces in the kitchen area, washing dishes behind the premises, and failure to display a valid business licence. The eateries were located at Jalan Sri Bintang, Taman Salak Selatan, Jalan Leboh Ampang, Jalan Kancil, Jalan Waras 1, Jalan Sarjana and Bangsa Village. GBKL also said a total of 64 premises were visited under the Operasi Spadu Bersih, with 32 health officers conducting inspections. It added that checks on all eateries would continue periodically to ensure compliance with regulations. 9 people, including 5 Immigration Department officers, have been remanded for 6 days to facilitate investigations into a syndicate which smuggled illegal immigrants into Peninsular Malaysia via Tawau Airport. Magistrate Leona Dominic Mojilio granted the remand order at the Tawau Magistrates Court on Friday following an application by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC. The 5 Immigration Department officers, aged between 41 and 30, comprised 3 women and 2 men. They were on duty at the Tawau Airport and were arrested between 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Thursday under the MACC's Op Lancha. The remaining 4 suspects, believed to be the syndicate's agents, were detained at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA2 in Sepang and around Tawau between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. the same day. It was learned that the syndicate had been active since 2021. The immigration officers were alleged to have received bribes of between 100 and 3,000 ringgit from the syndicate's agents as inducement for not taking action against the illegal immigrants during checks at the Tawau Airport. The illegal immigrants had allegedly used other people's identification cards provided by the syndicate to board flights to Peninsular Malaysia. The case is being investigated under the MACC Act. And that wraps up Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look as Muslims around the world attend their first Friday prayers of the holy month of Ramadan. With that, I'm Nadia Azmi. Thank you for watching, and to our Muslim viewers, Selamat Bersahur.